Okay, so get ready because today we are going deep on this whole thing with first impressions.
First impressions.
Yeah, like when you meet someone new and your brain just like instantly decides whether you like them or not.
Right, those instant judgments.
Exactly. And we've actually got a ton of pasted text here with questions all about first impressions.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we are going to try to figure out like why they matter so much
Okay.
and, like if we can actually trust those first impressions or if they're totally bogus.
Well, it is kind of crazy just how fast those first impressions form.
Yeah.
Yeah, like studies have shown that they can happen in just milliseconds.
Whoa, wait, milliseconds?
Yeah,
Really?
like before you've even really processed anything about the person.
That's insane. It's like our brains are just like on autopilot sizing people up before we've even said hello.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right? Like from evolutionary perspective.
Oh, how so?
Well, our ancestors had to make quick judgments about whether someone was a friend or foe, you know, for survival.
I guess that's true back in the caveman day.
Right. So it makes sense that we've kind of inherited that need to quickly categorize people.
But okay, so even if it's like hardwired into us, the question is, are those snap judgments accurate?
Right.
Because I know for a fact that I've, totally misjudged people based on first impressions.
Yeah, I think we all.
Like, you think someone's going to be a jerk and then they turn out to be super nice or vice versa.
Exactly. So it's definitely not foolproof.
So then why do we put so much weight on them? I mean, if they could be so inaccurate, why do they still matter so much?
I think it's because even though they're not always accurate, they do tend to set the tone for how we interact with someone going forward.
Oh, interesting.
Like, think about a job interview, right? If you make a bad first impression on the interviewer, it could be really tough to recover from that.
Totally. Or like on a first date.
Right, exactly.
If you just don't vibe with someone right away, it's going to be an uphill battle to like turn things around.
Exactly. So even though they're not always accurate, they can have a big impact on how things play out.
Okay, so let's break down what actually goes into forming these like lightning fast judgments.
Sure.
Because I know there's a lot of stuff in this pasted text about like the different factors at play.
Yeah, there's a lot of research on this.
Okay, so first up, the obvious one, visual cues,
Right.
like how someone looks, right?
Right.
We all know that matters, but why is that?
Well, part of it is just basic biology.
Biology?
Yeah, like we're programmed to find certain physical traits attractive.
Like what?
Well, things like symmetry, clear skin, features that indicate good health and reproductive fitness.
Right, I guess that makes sense from like an evolutionary standpoint.
Exactly. But then there's also this thing called the halo effect.
The halo effect, what's that?
It's this cognitive bias where we tend to associate attractiveness with other positive qualities.
So like if someone's good looking, we assume they're also smart and kind.
Exactly.
That's kind of messed up, isn't it?
It is, but it's a real phenomenon that's been shown in studies.
Really?
Uh,
Like people actually get treated better just because they're attractive?
Yeah, like studies have shown that attractive people are more likely to get hired, get promoted, even get lighter sentences in court.
Wow, I guess it's true what they say. Looks do matter.
Unfortunately, yeah, but it's not just about overall attractiveness, right? Like, there's also things like clothing and hairstyle.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, if you show up to a job interview in a wrinkled t-shirt, you're probably not going to make the best impression.
Yeah, no kidding.
But if you show up in a suit, well, that sends a different message.
Right, like you're taking it seriously, you're professional.
Exactly. So all those visual cues, they all feed into those instant judgments we make about people.
Okay, so looks are important, but what about body language? How much does that play into first impressions?
Body language is huge. Like, it's constantly sending signals, whether we realize it or not.
Signals about what?
Well, about everything, like our confidence level, our mood, even our intentions.
Really? So, like, how can you tell if someone's confident just from their body language?
Well, think about someone who stands tall, shoulders back, head held high.
Okay, yeah, they look confident.
Right, and they're probably making direct eye contact, smiling, maybe even using hand gestures.
Right, right. It's like they're owning the space.
Exactly, but then think about someone who's hunched over, avoiding eye contact, fidgeting.
Yeah, they look nervous or insecure.
Right, so even if they're saying all the right things, their body language is telling a different story.
And then aren't there also like those tiny little expressions that we might not even consciously notice?
Yeah, those are called micro expressions.
Micro expressions, right?
And they can be really revealing because they happen so fast that we can't really control them.
So like even if someone's trying to hide their true feelings, their micro expressions might give them away.
Exactly.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, so it's like our faces are constantly betraying our true thoughts and emotions, even if we don't want them to.
So basically, we're all walking lie detectors.
In a way, yeah, we're constantly reading and interpreting each other's nonverbal cues, even if we're not aware of it.
Okay, this is blowing my mind.
And then, there's also voice and tone.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, if someone's got a really annoying voice, it's kind of hard to get past that.
Right, but it's not just about whether a voice is pleasant or not. It's also about what it conveys.
Okay, like what?
Well, things like warmth, enthusiasm, confidence.
So, like, if someone's got a warm, inviting voice, we're more likely to trust them or like them.
Exactly.
And on the flip side, if they've got a cold, monotone voice, we might find them off-putting.
Right, and it's not just about the words they're saying, it's also about how they're saying them.
So, like, the tone of their voice can completely change the meaning of what they're saying.
Absolutely. Like, think about the difference between "I'm fine" said in a cheerful tone versus "I'm fine" said in a sarcastic or angry tone.
Oh, yeah, huge difference.
Right, so our voices are conveying all sorts of information about our emotional state and our intentions.
Okay, this is all fascinating, but here's where it gets a bit tricky for me.
What's that?
Like, how much of what we're seeing in someone is actually about them, their true personality and all that,
Hey.
and how much is just our own baggage, like our past experiences and biases and all that?
Yeah, that's a really important question.
Because, like, I know I've definitely made assumptions about people based on, things that have nothing to do with them as individuals.
Absolutely.
So how do we tease apart, like, what's real and what's just our own projection?
Well, it's not easy, right? Because our brains are constantly filtering information through the lens of our past experiences.
So even if we're trying to be objective, we're still bringing all our preconceived notions to the table.
Exactly, and that can lead to all sorts of biases, like confirmation bias, for example.
Confirmation bias.
Yeah, that's the tendency to seek out information that confirms our existing beliefs, even if those beliefs are wrong.
Oh, so like, if we already think someone's a jerk, we're going to focus on all the things they do that seem jerky and ignore all the things they do that are nice.
Exactly.
That's so unfair.
It is, but it's a very real phenomenon that can have a big impact on how we perceive people.
Okay, so we've talked about why first impressions matter and all the different things that go into forming them.
Right.
But the million-dollar question is, are they accurate? Like, can we actually trust those initial snap judgments?
Yeah. Well, the research on this is a bit mixed.
How so?
Well, some studies have shown that there is some correlation between first impressions and actual personality traits.
So, like, if someone seems extroverted when you first meet them, they're actually more likely to be an extrovert.
Exactly.
Okay, so there's some validity to those snap judgments.
To a certain extent, yeah, but we also have to remember that those judgments are based on very limited information.
Right. It's just a snapshot, not the whole picture.
Exactly. And as we've discussed, those judgments are heavily influenced by superficial factors and our own biases.
So it's like they're not totally useless, but we shouldn't take them as gospel truth either.
Exactly. They can give us some clues, but we need to be open to the possibility that we might be wrong.
Okay, so all this talk about first impressions has got me thinking, like, if they matter so much, but they can also be so flawed, is there anything we can do to, like, make a good one?
That's a great question. And the good news is, yes, there are things you can do.
Okay, awesome. Lay it on me.
Well, first and foremost, be mindful of your body language.
Body language, right, like what we were talking about before.
Exactly. So stand tall, make eye contact, smile, project confidence and warmth.
Okay, got it. Anything else?
Yeah, active listening is crucial.
Active listening. So, like, really paying attention to what the other person is saying.
Exactly, and showing them that you're engaged by nodding, asking questions, making eye contact.
So it's not just about, like, waiting for your turn to talk. It's about actually absorbing what they're saying.
Right, because people can tell when you're not really listening.
Yeah, totally.
So if you want to make a good impression, make sure you're genuinely interested in what the other person has to say.
Okay, makes sense. Anything else?
Yeah, and this might seem obvious, but be yourself.
Be myself.
Yeah, because trying to be someone you're not is just going to come across as fake.
Right, and no one likes a phony.
Exactly. So just relax, be authentic, and let your personality shine through.
Okay, I can do that.
And remember, making a good first impression isn't about being perfect. It's just about being present and engaged.
So it's more about, like, the effort you put in rather than, like, being super charming or whatever.
Exactly. It's about showing the other person that you respect them and that you're interested in getting to know them.
Okay, I like that.
And one more thing.
Yeah.
Don't stress too much about it.
Don't stress. But we've just spent like the last half hour talking about how important first impressions are.
I know, but the point is you can't control everything.
It's true.
Like, you can't control how someone else is going to perceive you. So just do your best, be yourself, and don't beat yourself up if things don't go perfectly.
Okay, that's good advice.
And even if you make a bad first impression, it's not the end of the world.
Really?
Yeah, because first impressions can change.
Well, they can.
Absolutely. Like, as you get to know someone better, you might realize that your initial impression was totally off base.
So like that jerk you thought you met might actually turn out to be a really great guy.
Exactly. So don't write someone off just because of a bad first impression.
Okay, that's actually really reassuring.
Yeah, and on the flip side, if someone makes a bad first impression on you, be open to the possibility that they might just be having a bad day or that you caught them at a bad time.
So give them the benefit of the doubt.
Exactly, because everyone deserves a second chance.
Okay, I love that.
And it's also important to remember that we're all constantly evolving and changing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So the person you meet today might be totally different from the person they were a year ago or even a month ago.
Right, so we shouldn't hold people hostage to their past, so to speak.
Exactly. We need to allow people the space to grow and change.
Okay, so basically, first impressions matter, but they're not the be-all and end-all.
Precisely.
We should be mindful of them, but we shouldn't let them completely dictate how we interact with people.
Exactly. It's all about finding that balance.
Awesome. Well, I think this has been a super insightful deep dive into the world of first impressions.
Yeah, been fun.
I've learned a lot, and I hope our listeners have too.
Me too.
And, now that we're all aware of the psychology at play, it'll be interesting to see how we approach meeting new people going forward.
Right.
Like, will we be more conscious of our own biases and assumptions?
I hope so.
I know I will be, and I challenge our listeners to do the same.
Yeah, it's definitely something to think about.
So next time you meet someone new, take a moment to really pay attention to your own reactions. Like, what are you noticing about them? What assumptions are you making? And are those assumptions based on anything real, or are they just your own baggage?
Great questions.
It's all about being more mindful and self-aware.
Absolutely.
So food for thought, everyone. Food for thought.
I like it.
And on that note, we'll wrap things up here.
Sounds good.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive,
My pleasure.
and we'll catch you next time.
See ya.